Hello, hello everyone! Spring has sprung. The true astrological new year began with the vernal equinox, which this year was on March 20th, the official start of spring, the return of the king, when the sun is exalted in the sign of Aries. This is why Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday following the first full moon of spring. This year, Easter will be celebrated on Sunday, April 20th. I'd like to remind all of you watching to please take a moment to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can be the first to know when we put out new content and see what the cosmos may have in store for you. We are on our journey to 1,000 subscribers, and as many of you already know, us content creators are paid based on hours watched, likes, subscribers. It's completely free to subscribe. So I thank you in advance for doing so. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Happy birthday to all of my Aries friends and followers. We love you for your ambitious, assertive, at times domineering, athletic, and pioneering nature. May your seemingly endless energy never run out of steam. Today, we're here to discuss the Aries new moon partial solar eclipse happening very early in the morning on Saturday, March 29th, 2025. It's special for many reasons. For one, it's the final Aries eclipse for 8 years. And for two, it happens within 24 hours of Neptune changing signs. And as many of you know, Neptune is one of the slower moving, as one of the outer planets. It's one of the slowest moving planets. So it will take essentially all of 2025 to shift out of the late degrees of Pisces and into the early degrees of Aries. These next several months will foreshadow what the next 13 years of Neptune in Aries will bring from 2025 until 2038. Now, this features Neptune ingressing into Aries for the first time since the 1860s, and Saturn will be following Neptune later on in May, and again in February of 2026. The two will travel closely together through Aries, much like they did in 1701 and 1702. We can look back to these time periods, the early 1700s, and from 1861 to 1865, for some clues of what type of energy Neptune in Aries may bring. History tends to repeat itself if we remain unconscious. So we will have to see and observe together how much humanity has evolved or how much we've stayed the same. So the Aries new moon partial solar eclipse, interestingly enough, coincides with not only the astrological new year, but Neptune changing signs. As many of you already know, eclipses are essentially new moons or full moons. They happen with a new or full moon, in this case a new moon, on steroids. In this case, we have the sun and moon, the sun representing our core consciousness, and the moon representing our subconscious or unconscious nature, our more emotional, intuitive selves. We have an alignment of the sun, consciousness, and unconsciousness, the moon, in the same part of the sky or universe. In this case, they are aligned 8 degrees, 59 arc minutes, the final part of the 8th degree before rounding up to 9 degrees Aries. 8 degrees, 59 arc minutes of Aries, serving as a cosmic gateway, portal, or open door, especially as everything that's in Pisces clears away what no longer serves our current and future realities. The Aries new moon partial solar eclipse exacts on Saturday, March 29th, 2025, at 5:57 Eastern Standard Time or 9:57 Universal Time, coinciding with the spring, aka vernal equinox, just 1 week prior. This new moon marks the official start of the astrological new year, and therefore serves as a powerful time for setting intentions and taking initiative on a new beginning. Mars has been retrograde for the past 6 months, and we're still coming out of post-retrograde shadow. So those New Year's resolutions that you might have started back at the end of December, Mars started its retrograde in December. Now is a better time to finalize them, finalize any tweaks you want to make to your routine now that the South Node is in Virgo. Daily habits, health, and routine, all ruled by Virgo in the 6th house. And once Venus and Mercury are no longer retrograde, that would be the time to take action. And as with any new moon, we have an alignment of the sun representing core consciousness and the moon representing our unconscious, aligned in the same part of the sky, which is perfect energy for setting new intentions, specifically new intentions around Aries themes, which will be prominent and play out for the collective over the next 3 and 13 years, with Saturn and Neptune together for the next 3 years in Aries, and Neptune staying in Aries for 13 years until 2038. Neptune representing the collective subconscious. Since Aries is ruled by the planet Mars, this new moon brings heightened passion, energy, and drive to initiate new projects. With Mars coming out of the post-retrograde shadow on the Cancer-Leo cusp, and Venus and Mercury both retrograde on the cusp of Pisces and Aries, there is a strong focus on completing cycles and projects from the past before we can clear space and energy to focus on initiating new projects for the future. We're wrapping up unfinished business. The chart of the Aries new moon partial solar eclipse is set for Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States on the East Coast, which is where I am located and based. So you can ignore the clock face and the houses unless you are based in a similar area. Please be sure to adjust for your unique time and location on the planet. I'd like to begin by going over some interesting things I notice about the new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. The moon in Aries and Mars in Cancer are in mutual reception. They're in cahoots, working closely together. We have the return of the king, with the sun exalted in the sign of Aries. This is similar to the Emperor card in tarot. The Emperor card in tarot, especially in the reversed position, symbolizes the shadow traits of Mars, Aries, and the exalted sun in Aries. These traits include bravado, machismo, a tendency to be domineering, aggressive when we mean to be assertive, being conflict-oriented, and a tendency to want to win at all costs, or putting winning and the self above everything else. The more we try to avoid becoming something we oppose through self-righteousness, we end up, ironically, embodying the very thing that we oppose. Watch for delusions of grandeur as Neptune prepares to shift from Pisces into Aries. Mass collective delusions will fall away. We have seen the woke agenda die off, with Neptune in the final degrees of Pisces preparing to transition into Aries. But we may see, with Neptune in Aries, the zeal of individuals, their delusions of grandeur, taking the main stage, especially as Mars comes out of post-retrograde shadow, Mercury and Venus retrograde wrap up, and Mars, the king, reemerges in May. Empowered, passions, motivations realigned, and having brought karma not only to our national borders and national security, to the waters in the sign of Cancer, to domestic situations and home life, but once it returns to Leo, to anyone in the top 2%. Influencers, celebrities, royalty, leaders. And there could be a dramatic change in leadership unfolding as Neptune in Aries tends to coincide with assassinations. Stay tuned and we'll see what the future has in store. And Mars, still out of bounds, coming out of his post-retrograde shadow. So we have exaggerated, inflated solar and Martian energy. Aggression, a lot of road rage, a lot of accidents you might notice, a lot of displaced masculinity. We have Neptune in Pisces in its sign of modern rulership, with Venus exalted in Pisces, in the final degrees of Pisces, which are also the final degrees of the entire zodiacal wheel. Whenever a planet is exalted, so we have the Sun exalted in Aries, we have Neptune in rulership in Pisces, and we have Venus exalted in Pisces. Exalted, think exaggerated. So all the traits of the Sun, ruling Leo energy, are exaggerated in the sign of Aries. When Venus is in Pisces, all those Venusian traits, Venus rules Taurus and Libra, that strong focus on peace, stability, and balance, harmony, both at home and interpersonally, become exaggerated. Same with Neptune in Pisces. The Piscean energy is strong, further strengthened when we consider the stellium of planetary bodies we have in the sign of Pisces, which I'll discuss momentarily. An exalted Venus retrograde in Pisces means that the second half of Venus retrograde will be even stronger and more potent than the first half, where Venus was debilitated or weakened in Aries. We have multiple planetary bodies, 22 degrees of their sign, with 22 degrees being that infamous KILL or BKILLED degree. A degree point that whatever planet and sign it's placed in brings an all or nothing, almost fight to the DEATH for something. In this case, we have Mars, 22 degrees Cancer, forming an exact square to Chiron, asteroid of deep soul wounding, usually stemming from early childhood, but carried unconsciously with us and playing out through our interpersonal relationships, as people serve as mirrors reflecting back to us the parts of self that we may not want to, but need to see in order to heal and evolve. Mars is considered one of the two great malefics, along with Pluto. Mars delivers karma via accident, injury, illness, and sudden separation. So we have Mars, one of the great malefics, 22 degrees of Cancer, as the ruling planetary body for this new moon partial solar eclipse in Aries. In the chart of the Aries new moon partial solar eclipse for Saturday, March 29th, 2025, the conjunction is the aspect that occurs the most. And whenever we have a conjunction, you can consider the planetary bodies involved to be working in union, fused together. We'll use the new moon as an example. The moon and the sun are fused. They're so close together, they serve as one. Similarly, we have a multi-planet conjunction on the cusp of Aries and Pisces, which I'll explain in a little bit. Mercury retrograde, right on the cusp, so 0 degrees Aries, about to enter 29 degrees Pisces, where it will conjoin with Neptune and the North Node of Fate and Destiny, is hovering over the very final and first degrees of the zodiacal wheel. And this is one of those 0 degrees of all the cardinal signs, is one of those pivotal points in astrology. And with Mercury, the planet of communication, commerce, and trade and travel, with it being retrograde with Venus, there could be some sort of major public global news. Now let's talk about that multi-planet stellium on the cusp of Pisces and Aries. It'll actually be activated by direct conjunction to the moon in the days leading up to this new moon eclipse, which means that we'll be feeling the effects of this highly karmic new moon partial solar eclipse for several days as early as Wednesday, March 26th, 2025. Take a look at the chart cast on the screen here. Beginning with Ceres, asteroid of nurturing, 12 degrees Pisces. We have the part of fortune, 15 degrees Pisces. Saturn, planet of karma, 24 degrees Pisces. The North Node of fate and destiny, 27 degrees Pisces. Neptune, 29 degrees Pisces, but not for long, as Neptune, within 24 hours of this Aries new moon partial solar eclipse, will be 0 degrees Aries. Venus, retrograde, 28 degrees Pisces. And Mercury, retrograde, 0 degrees Aries, but about to return to 29 degrees Pisces, joining Neptune and Venus. And finally, the sun and moon aligned, 8 degrees 59 arc minutes, rounding up to 9 degrees of Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so the Aries new moon, especially when it coincides with the vernal equinox, serves as the astrological new year. The new moon in Aries is typically the first of 12 or 13, depending on the year, new moons in a calendar year. This is the time to set your intentions and create your 12-month program for the future, your plan for success. Aries is an energetic, adventurous, restless, pioneering, and entrepreneurial cardinal or initiating fire sign. It has the slogan, like Nike, just do it. Aries leads the way by taking initiative with its seemingly endless and confident energy. Aries is a me first sign. As such, people with strong Aries energy tend to strongly project their personalities onto others, and they tend to be very self-oriented. And this is not necessarily in a bad way, unless it's taken too far or at the expense or detriment of others. Any imbalance of energy, you can always look to the sign's opposite, the sister sign. In this case, Aries' polar opposite, Aries' sister sign, is Libra, which is all about balance, harmony, peace, and beauty. Libra is the only other focused sign in the zodiac, wired to put the needs of the other, whether it's their boss, their coworker, their friend, their client, or their romantic partner, in front of their own needs. The perfect antidote for selfishness. Shadow, fire. Themes for the new moon in Aries include the right use and balance of fiery ram willpower, avoiding the shadow traits of Aries, being rash, brash, aggressive, impatient, overly direct or blunt, being aggressive, domineering, or impulsive, being selfish or overly self-focused, and instead leaning into the positive traits of Aries, like independence, self-sufficiency, being autonomous, being goal-oriented, and being action-oriented. You can also lean into the traits of adventurousness, optimism, and tenacity. Aries does not like to be under the control or micromanaging thumb of anyone else. Aries would definitely be more of the business owner or CEO, maybe a 1099 consultant, but definitely not your typical W-2 employee. And I can relate. I have had clients at work tell me this time and time again. You really don't seem like a W-2 employee. Well, thank you. That's a compliment because I am not. This is why it's imperative that people with strong Aries energy really tap into their full potential and learn to embody the independent, decisive, boss Aries energy. But don't take it too far, because we don't want any domineering or aggression. That's a little too much. Tune into your dreams. We have Neptune shifting out of Pisces and into Aries. Tune into your dreams. Visualize that path to success. Visualize what that future looks like, and use that as you set your intentions for the next year. Be ambitious, but remember that the trappings of hustle culture are falling away now that Pluto is no longer in Capricorn. Be ambitious, but avoid going too fast and losing sight of your manners along the way. There will be instant karma for cutting corners and for how you treat others. Remember to embody the golden rule. Treat others as you would be treated. If you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Ask yourself, is it kind? Is it helpful? Is it productive? Otherwise, consider maybe not contributing it. If you proceed in pursuing your goals and ambitions with too much ego and too much pride, you will be presented with a nemesis along the way. Aries energy is known for naturally taking charge and stepping up to be the leader, whether that's at work or within the friend group. And Aries energy is really good at initiating things. However, it may struggle with seeing things through to completion. cardinal signs, cardinals initiate. They initiate each season. Aries with spring, Cancer with summer, Libra with autumn or fall, and Capricorn with winter. We can look to our fixed signs that come right after the cardinal signs in the heart of their season. Taurus in the heart of spring, Leo in the heart of summer, Scorpio in the heart of autumn or fall, and Aquarius in the dead of winter. We can look to those fixed signs to see the things that we've started through to completion. Fire signs tend to lack patience and staying power. This, combined with Mars coming out of post-retrograde shadow as the ruling planetary body for the Aries new moon partial solar eclipse, and Venus and Mercury, both retrograde, suggests that the focus is on completing cycles, projects, and relationships from the past. You're encouraged to practice sticking things out instead of jumping jobs, jumping relationships, or jumping to new opportunities because the grass appears greener on the other side. A new divine masculine, or someone who identifies as having predominantly masculine energy, may be entering your life under the Aries new moon partial solar eclipse of 2025. And remember to always try your best. We learn best when we fail, but the most important thing is that when you fall 7 times, you stand up 8. You always get up and you try again. Aries, the symbol for the zodiacal sign of the ram, shows this fresh, fiery impulse clearly. And the abundance of solar fire energy seen in Aries can be seen with the exaltation of the sun transiting the sign of Aries, kickstarting spring. Let's talk a little bit about the ram as a spirit animal and the lamb related to the ram. The lamb leads us back to God, whatever we deem that to be. The ram is able to climb to great heights over difficult terrain. The pictograph for Aries represents the long nose of the ram and 2 horns, symbolic of the eyes and human face, the part of the body ruled by Aries, along with our circulatory system, most notably our blood. People with strong Aries Mars energy may be prone to injuries and cuts around the face. This could include multiple concussions, headaches, migraines, and circulatory issues. They could be prone to accident and injury around fire and sharp instruments. And watch for being accident prone, especially from speeding or impulsive action. Be cautious to avoid dangerous and potentially violent situations. The glyph for Aries represents 2 half moons joined together by a line of unity, representing idealism tied to inner authority and power. So let's talk a little bit about energy along the Aries-Pisces cusp. This will be familiar to anyone with birthdays falling between March 16th and March 20th. Pisces with a strong Aries subflavor. It'll also be familiar to anyone with birthdays from March 21st to March 25th. Aries with a strong Pisces subflavor. Each zodiacal sign is divided into 3 smaller parts. So we have the entire wheel of the zodiac, 360 degrees, divided into 12 equal sections, or zodiacal signs, further divided into 3. So if you're with me so far, that's 12 equal segments, 0 to 29 degrees, resetting at 30 instead would be 0 of the next sign. So it goes 0 Aries to 29 Aries, would reset instead of 30 degrees Aries, it would be 0 degrees Taurus, and so forth until you get all the way around the zodiacal wheel to 29 degrees of Pisces. These smaller thirds, each zodiacal wheel split into 3 equal parts, are 10 degrees each. 0 to 9, 10 to 19, and 20 to 29. These are called Decans. Each decan has a primary planetary ruler and a sub-ruler, contributing to the flavor of its energy, which is why not everybody with the same birthday or same birth month has the same energy. We're also onions. We have an entire solar system inside of us. so much more than just one placement, your sun sign. In this case, the sun and moon are aligned 8 degrees 59 arc minutes of Aries, which falls within the first decan of Aries, which is both ruled and sub-ruled by fiery, great malefic planet that delivers karma through accident, injury, illness, and separation at 22 degrees of Cancer in mutual reception with this new moon. 22 degrees being that death degree, that evil degree in degree astrology, the KILL or BKILLED degree. Mars's influence as both the primary planetary ruler and the sub-ruler denotes courage, passion, and competition, giving extra force and impact to the personality for anyone whose sun sign falls within the first 9 degrees of Aries, like this new moon Aries partial solar eclipse. This can create a dominant personality that teeters on the side of aggressive. Watch for steamrolling over others' needs by focusing too heavily on your own. This decan of Aries is known not only for its natural leadership skills, but for inspiring confidence and those same leadership skills in others. With Mercury retrograde and a loose operative conjunction here, watch for a tendency with taking over in conversations and domineering others, or being overly direct, aggressive, or blunt in your communication style or habits. Watch also for a tendency to overdo things at the expense of your precious time, energy, and resources. A habit that can lead to accident, injury, burnout, and eventually illness. The first decan of Aries, ruled by Mars and sub-ruled by Mars, would be familiar to anyone whose birthday falls between March 20th and March 31st. The key word for this decan is inspiration, and the constellation associated with it is Andromeda, the chained woman. Andromeda was freed from her chains by the great hero Perseus, who slayed the demon monster Gorgon Medusa. Interesting considering that Uranus is on fixed star Algol, representing the Gorgon Medusa's head in the hand of Perseus, and will be there for several months. The constellation Andromeda and her corresponding myth symbolizes the great power of love and the triumph of good over evil. Once Perseus decapitates or beheads the Gorgon Medusa, as long as he does not look it directly in the eyes, great evil can now be used as a tool or a weapon against his adversaries. And from the blood that drips from Medusa's head births the winged horse Pegasus. Great good can come from overcoming shadow. Follow the energy trail. Mars, as the planetary ruling body of this new moon, is still post-retrograde shadow and still out of bounds. 22 degrees Cancer. Mars will be back in bounds on April 7th and will be out of post-retrograde shadow for good in May. This new moon exacts 8 degrees 59 arc minutes of Aries, which is within conjunction of fixed star Algol, or Algol Gamma, the wing of the winged horse Pegasus, symbolic of a strong will, penetrating mind, determination, seeking public attention, violence, misfortune, and poverty. And when conjoined with the sun and moon, Algol can bring an increased danger of ill health and accidents. I'm going to read for you the Sabian Symbolism, A Screen of Prophecy by Diana E. Roche, pages 40 to 41. 9 degrees Aries, a crystal gazer. Keyword acuteness, theme divination. This symbol speaks to global perspective and to the capacity to quickly grasp the significance of all facets of a situation at once and understand the meaning in coincidental events, synchronicities. The image of a crystal gazer emphasizes the world of potential as intuited or perceived through clairvoyance and vision, clear seeing. Implicit in this symbol is the concept of dual imagery, or a mirroring effect, wherein man and his universe reflect each other and thereby create a means for predicting the future, the tree of life, as above, so below. On a practical level, this degree can symbolize a situation where all ordinary means for solving a problem have been exhausted and divinatory techniques are turned to. Positive at its highest, this symbol represents psychic sensitivity, prophetic insight, and the ability to organize and plan in such a manner that facilitation and convenience precede actual need. Negative, snooping and prying, or foolish practicality. Today, the accent is on sensitivity and the need to find information or immediate answers to problems. Logic and reason might not work well at this time, especially with Mercury ruling logic retrograde. Solutions are discovered intuitively or through psychic means, especially when Mercury returns to Pisces. You are especially alert today and may surprise yourself and someone else by tuning in to something that was being kept secret. Are you a walking lie detector? Can you see right through other people's energies? Opportunity. Your greatest advantage lies in looking ahead to what is going to be needed in the not too distant future. Risk. Guard against being intrusive or violating others' right to privacy. Mind your own business unless you are specifically asked to get involved. This speaks to boundaries, and especially with Jupiter in Gemini, can be really nosy, can be a busybody, and has us all embodying those traits. So just remember to enforce boundaries and mind your own business. Stay in your lane. Stepping stones: intuition, clairvoyance, vision, reflection, sensitivity, global perspective, and potential. Thank you for watching. If you're still with me, you're a real one. Drop your current most used emoji in the comments. If you took anything away from this video, we ask that you like, comment, share the content, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, we know that you'll enjoy the full playlist and this additional video. Thank you so much. Love you, and see you soon.